The app FarOut gives you access to all sorts of information about a trail, shows you exactly where you are on a map, and shares information between hikers. In this video, I'll show you all of the features and how to take advantage of this incredible tool. Personally, I used FarOut on the Tahoe Rim Trail, the John Muir Trail, but it wasn't until partway through the AT that I knew how to use it to its full potential. So even if you've used the app before by watching this video, there might be something you don't know. But for the folks that are brand new using it for the first time, I want to make sure I cover everything. So if there's something you already know, remember you can watch in 2x speed or skip around. First, let's start with the basics. The app is available for iPhone and Android. I'm going to show you on my iPhone. On Android, it's just going to look a little different. The app itself is free, but the maps cost money. For example, the Sheltowee Trace cost about $18, the AT was $75, and the PCT is $40. So the cost really just depends on what trail you want to hike. Although there's also paddling trails, bike trails, maps of just general areas instead of one long trail. The downside of it being on your phone is that you really need to keep an eye on your phone's battery to make sure you're always able to access FarOut. If you weren't already planning to, it might help to carry a power bank with you, and just keep an eye on where your battery is at. Maybe turn off background things that are taking up energy. Try not to use GPS type features too much. Also, if you were to lose or break your phone, you would kind of be up a creek without a paddle. So make sure if you're sitting down to lunch and you put your phone down beside you, don't get up and walk off without it. Don't, have it out in the rain too often and water starts seeping in. Using the app itself does not require Wi-Fi, although if you want to, you can download things like pictures and topographical maps before the trail or when you're in town or something. Let's go ahead and take a look. The Explore page is where you would go to buy a new map, look for what maps they have on there, and access maps you've already bought. This isn't an AT specific video. It can apply to a lot of things, but because I know a lot of my viewers are AT fans, let's use that as the example. Because this is such a long trail, it comes in lots of different maps. I believe there's 8 of them total. On the shorter trails I've done, there's just been one, but because there's so much to know, they gotta break it up. Like most maps on a phone, you can zoom in by moving your fingers apart, zoom out by moving your fingers together. All these icons, you can see how when you zoom in, it shows you a more accurate place of where they all are. They're kind of grouped up just for, making it look more visually appealing. The icons are just things that could be useful to you, where to camp, where to fill up water. If you tap one, you can swipe up for the name, where it's at on the trail, and if you scroll down, there is a whole lot of information that we'll talk more about later. So let's say you're getting prepared to go on a hike. You've already bought the map. Now you probably want to go to More and Settings. That's where you can change everything. If you want to put it in terms of percentage instead of feet per mile, when it comes to elevation grade, you can change the vertical exaggeration, and this is what that means. This is the elevation screen. It shows you a chart of how steep things are, but in settings you can fine tune how it looks. This is with it very flat looking, and this is with it being really detailed. It does look really intimidating, but this way at least you'll know exactly how steep it is compared to another mountain. Also in settings, the distance unit, if you are not from the US, you probably want to change that to meters. If you're colorblind, it shows just a view that would appear better for you. You can change the direction you're hiking and the preferred language. It's very customizable in that way. If you see an icon and you don't know what it means, probably if you click on it and read the name, you'll be like, oh, okay. But if you're really curious, you can go to More, App Information, Waypoint icons, and then it's a list of what symbol means exactly what. If I was preparing for a hike, one of the first things I would look at is how steep it's going to be. To get to that elevation page that we just looked at, it's in this bar of icons. It's the second icon that looks like mountains. And I'll tell you more about those as we go. But this is the elevation screen. Now that we know what kind of elevation to expect, the next thing I would look up is what are the campsites like? How far apart are they? What are the descriptions saying? So to do that, the fourth icon, it kind of looks like a wine glass without a base, but that is how you narrow the icons down. We'll talk about social check-ins and waypoints later. You can either tap down here the exact icons you want to see, or just use these quick filters. So I want to see camping and shelters, done, and then you'll see everything disappears except places to camp. When I started backpacking, I had a paper map and FarOut, and I would look at the paper map to try to plan out the campsites because I was trying to not rely on this resource. But I think it's better to find the tried and true campsites than just trying to find your own, because it'll just save you a lot of headache. What if you get somewhere and actually the ground's really rocky? Having the ability to see what other people have thought of some place is really helpful. Of course, some people just write total nonsense, so don't listen to that. That would have saved me from a lot of not so great campsites as a beginning backpacker. But you might be thinking, oh, what's that purple thing? That's not a tent or a shelter. But if you look at the description, you'll see that there is tenting in the services they offer, so that's why it still counts and shows up in the search. Let's go ahead and check out this campsite. First, there's a description, then these 4 icons are telling us how long until the next landmark, how long until the next water, the next shelter, and the next campsite. You can also show it on different maps. And here's the comments, which I think are very, very handy. They say that the creek is flowing well here. Looks like there's good reviews. You can leave a private note if you don't really want to tell things to other people, but you can be like, I don't know, note to self. Maybe something was a really cool campsite and you want to go back to it. You could use it like that. When I started backpacking, I would make an initial plan of what campsite I want to reach every day, but none of that ever worked out, so nowadays I just have an idea of where I want to go in the back of my mind and know that plans are always changing. If you are that kind of person that wants to make a plan of exactly when you're gonna end up where, you can make a route. To do that, you go to the bottom icon, which looks like a hammer and a wrench. That's tools, and then create a route. Let's say on this AT map, you're getting dropped off at Amicalola Falls. So you tap the screen, press, and when that appears, it gives you an option to exit out if you did it slightly wrong. So let's say, oh, never mind, I meant to do right here. I think this is where the arch is, but I don't know for sure. Okay, so new route, that's where I'm beginning. And let's say on this first day, I'm planning to get all the way to Springer Mountain and camp in the shelter right after. So drop my little pin there and press check to say, yep, I did that right. That's what I want to do for sure. I'll name that day 1. Save. If you wanted to keep doing that day after day, you would keep going to create a route. Here's my start. Come on. And let's say I want to maybe I want to go more than 3 miles. Let's try this nice tent site, Hawk Mountain. Sounds like a nice place. There you go. Day 2. Let's say you keep doing that and doing that. To find that again, you go to Tools, My Route. This is my second time trying to film this video, and that day 1 was left over from my last attempt, so never mind that. This way, you'd be able to say, okay, I'm going to open the exact thing I planned. Let's look at the mileage just for that. Going to be really high in elevation, but anyway, it's nothing for you. That's how you use routes. I've never used that feature just because I like to be a little more loosey-goosey. Plans always change. But if you are a person that likes to do it like that, that is an option. Another thing I would want to know about a trail beforehand is what are the water sources like? If you want to just have an idea of what kind of distance is between water sources, like here, it looks like this could be a little ways. So you click on that. Water source, the next one, is in 4.8 miles. That way you'd be aware of any long stretches where you need to pay special attention. The thing about water sources, though, is that you can never be positive. Because we have the ability with this app to see what other people's experiences were, it's a good idea of whether the water source will be running or dried out. But bear in mind that this app isn't psychic, you know. You might be the first person to come across a water source when it's dried up. Okay, so let's reset all the icons back to normal. I did that just by going to the little wine glass, pressing reset up at the top left, and done to close it out. Then I'm back to looking at the map. Let's say next I want to be like, okay, but what are the resupplies like on this trail? And you'll see in Georgia on the AT, there's tons and tons of places to resupply. All kinds of hostels, towns to walk across. Just to give you another example though, Sheltoe Trace, you'll see that there's a lot less places to resupply. So let's say you're out on the trail, your food bag is getting a little light, you need to go into town sometime soon. It opens up to where you were on the map. For example, let's say I'm near the Great Smoky Mountains and I open up the town guide. Is going to show me things that were on the map I was just looking at. But of course you can scroll to check out all the options. Another thing you might want to do in preparation, remember I said before there are certain maps and photos you can download if you want ahead of time. That's under Tools and File Manager. Waypoint photos are obviously photos of what you're going to see, topographical map, so on and so forth. Personally, I don't use this feature because I always need all the storage on my phone as possible for videos, but it could come in handy. So now let's say the day has come, you are out on your hike. This little GPS, if you press it so that it's colorful instead of gray, that enables your phone to show you exactly where you are. This is where I am. Normally the white circle would be closer to the trail, but I'm not near the trail right now. And the point is what direction your phone is facing. So this is me pointing south right now with my phone, and as you can see, my little arrow is pointing south too. Let's say you were looking ahead on the map and then you want to scroll back. Oh wait, where am I exactly? If you were to push the middle button, that would take you exactly to where you were. The record, you can record your mileage. I never have because that would take up a lot of phone battery, but that's an option. During the day-to-day, in the past, I've looked at this bird's eye view map mostly because I was like, I don't want to know about the hills coming up. But next time I think I'm going to keep it open to the elevation page more, because if there are hills, worst case scenario, I'm going to be like, yeah, that's what I expected. Best case scenario, I'll be like, oh, it wasn't as hard as I was thinking. All that is mental strategy, and it's really going to depend person to person. If you are on the elevation page, that box at the top shows you the stats for what you're zoomed into. If you zoom all the way out, it'll tell you all that for that exact map. If you're wondering why that water source is just floating up at 16,000 feet, the answer is I don't know. Something important to note though that will save you some headaches is the difference between it saying however many miles from you versus by trail. If I was on the trail right now, it would say the mileage by trail, and that would mean how far I would have to walk to get there. But if you're off the trail, it's going to say from you, but that just means like from point A to point B as the crow flies, not necessarily how far it'll take to get there. Another option to keep track of what you're going to run into day to day is by going to the 3 bullet point icon, and that's just a list of what you're going to pass. If you go all the way to the top, or here, just close that, and then you'll see the search. Open what you want to search, and then you can type in the name of something. You can either do the keyword or the specific name of something, and then scroll down. You can either do show on map, show on elevation, or show on Google Maps or Apple Maps. It gives you the options in the settings page, but I want to show on the map where it's going to be. Oh, good. There it is. If you can remember that, that's going to save you tons of time of scrolling through. Where is it? I'm going to change maps for this example, but if you want to search for a specific mile marker on trail, let's say that someone told you, hey, there's a rope swing by mile 1202. So how to search by mile, you click the tools icon, go to mile, and then get as close as possible. Okay, going in this direction. Oh, there it is, the Hurt Line tent site. That way you can find a specific mile marker without having to swipe all the way through. So let's say you're just walking along, and you're like, oh, I really need to, I don't know, let's say you hurt yourself and you need to call a shuttle and get picked up as soon as possible. You would go to narrowing down the search results, parking and trailheads. There you go. Then you would be able to see all your options of where you could get picked up. Like I said before, Town Guide shows you options of what towns are coming up, and the I circle is for warnings. So here's a list of all the warnings on this specific map. Also, if you look at the regular map view, the top icon of the maybe map folded 3 times, the alerts for a specific place are going to have this green outline. So this is surrounding the Smoky Mountains. If you click on it, it lights up yellow. There's some information for you. Read. Know everything they need you to know. And there are smaller areas like this. Come on. It lights up yellow sometimes. Come on, seriously. That is Gerard Gap to Neal's Gap. The alert says that bear canisters are required if you're going to camp there, but the area begins at mile 26 and ends at mile about 32. So if you know, oh, okay, I'll just make sure to not camp in those 8 miles. I'll camp somewhere before and make sure that my day ends after that. Or this is Neal's Gap right here. A lot of people stay at the cabins that are right here. Just know you have to avoid that zone unless you have a bear canister. Reading comments of what other people have to say. Of course, sometimes they just had a bad experience somewhere and want to take it out. Or sometimes they might be very valuable warnings. Like, let's say, oh, we're done with the Smoky Mountains. Let's go to this hostel right here. The information they give, okay, looks pretty standard, looks pretty good. But then if you scroll down to the comments, you'll see that not everyone really likes this place. So you want to say, okay, is this for me? Is this not for me? I can tell you from my own experience, this hostel is known for selling food that has expired. So the point I'm trying to make here is if you read comments ahead of time, then you'll know what to avoid, what not, based on your preferences. You won't have to spend money anywhere and be like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have come here, because you had that information ahead of time. Now I want to show you something really fun. Let's say you're making a bunch of friends out on trail and you don't want to keep texting each other. Where are you? What are your plans? Do you think we'll be able to meet up? Are you too far ahead? You can keep track of each other using FarOut. If you go to account, obviously, I've changed my information from what it sometimes is. Use the gear to make your profile public. That means that anyone can search you, but people request to follow you, and you can either approve or deny. You'll also have to request to follow them. How to send a check-in. Guide is where the map and all of the icons on the side are. So go to Tools, Send a Check-in, and then you can type blah, 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 having a great time, here for the next however long. And then that will appear where you are when you type that. So that if your friends are wondering where you are, they'll see, oh, they checked in at this point. They were there whenever they checked in. If you're lucky enough to have someone at home that wants to follow along with your progress, this could be a way. Let's say you check in to wherever you're staying every night. This could be a way for them to kind of keep track of you on the map, and it would be fun for them, but they would have to buy the map. That could be expensive. If you want to see a list of those check-ins, you could go to social, and there you go. There's all the people I follow. But let's say you meet someone on trail. You follow each other on FarOut, then something happens and you're like, oh, I don't want them to know my check-ins anymore. What you do is press these 3 dots. You can unfollow a person, meaning you won't see their stuff anymore. You can remove follower, meaning they're not going to follow you anymore. Or you can block them, meaning completely shut off. But another way to keep track of where you stay every night or some cool spot you find is to create custom waypoints. Let's say I find a spot I really love and I want to remember it. Go to Tools, Create a Waypoint, choose Location, because my location is very much off trail right now. So let's say, oh, where did that go? Create Waypoint, choose Location, right here. Okay, and then you can choose what kind of symbol you want to save for it, write a description, and save. To get back to those saved waypoints, you go to Account, scroll down, Custom Waypoints, and then I can see the 2 that I have saved. Finally, let's say you've made it through the Smoky Mountains. You've run out of map to follow. Go to Explore, Appalachian Trail, or Appalachian, and then you go to the next map. And you're on your way. Oh my gosh, so exciting. Okay, I realize that was a whole lot of information. The more times you hear something, the more likely you are to remember it. So let's go over everything again. Explore is where you go to buy maps or navigate between them. Account is where you change the settings for your social check-ins. If you want, you can review your recorded tracks and your custom waypoints. Guide is the main page with all the maps. The first icon of the folded map shows bird's eye view of the map, the elevation, the list view. You can scroll through the waypoints or you can search for something up top. The wine glass looking thing is where you can go to narrow down icons. Next is the town guide where you can see what towns are coming up. Circle is for information alerts. Tools is where you'll find a lot of things like creating a custom route, creating a waypoint. File manager where you can see your downloaded stuff. Go to mile where you can search by mile and then it'll just take you to that mile marker, I should say. My routes is your saved stuff. Send a check-in, that's the social stuff. And review, comments. Oh, I forgot to mention that, but that's just the most recent comments that have been posted on that map. In case there's like a storm or something and you're like, okay, where's damaged? That's where you would go to look. And if you don't want that bar with all the icons, it can fold up if you press that button. GPS can be turned off. Also, you may want to consider only turning it on when you need to see where you are. The GPS function takes up some battery. Social is where you go to read people's check-ins. More is where you'll find app information, like what icons mean what. Settings is where you can adjust how the map looks for you. And support is technical support for the app. That was a lot, I know. But what I want to discuss is FarOut a backpacker's most important tool? Of course, backpackers have lived without it for years and years. The app started in 2012 as Guthook's guide to the PCT. Today, some people don't feel like learning something new. Some people just want to be different and stand out from other hikers by not using it. Some folks want to challenge themselves. Some folks say, I'm hiking because I want to get away from technology. I don't want to be looking at my phone every couple hours. But in my opinion, the amount of information it gives outweighs all of that stuff. And it can be used for safety purposes too. Let's not forget the hiker named Geraldine or Jerry Largay, who in 2013 was hiking in Maine. She went off trail to go to the bathroom, then couldn't remember which direction she came from, and she never found her way back to the trail. It's recommended to carry a satellite phone or a GPS device with an emergency beacon for emergency cases, of course, but think about how much time panicking you could avoid if you could just pull out your phone, say, where am I? Where is the trail? Okay, this is how I'm walking towards the trail. Let me know what you think. Stay safe and happy hiking.